John, welcome back. Hope you're doing good today.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. So, today's little series, we're going to talk about talking back. So, we all, as parents, have that issue. It's a come across. So, how do you typically respond when your child talks back or shows defiance?
Well, one of the things I tell parents is the minute you engage at an emotional level with your child, you've lost. You can't win an argument with a child, and you certainly lose all sense of authority when you engage emotionally with a child. And the reason I say that is because when children talk back, that's what parents do. 99% of the time, they immediately respond at a knee-jerk level and at a very emotional level.
100%.
Don't talk to me like that. You live in my house. You won't talk to me like, that
I
kind of
think I just
thing.
said that yesterday.
And the fact of the matter is that when you respond like that, you've lost immediately. So we've talked some in previous videos about scripting with children. And here's where scripting comes in. And talking back, I hate you, you can't tell me what to do, that sort of thing. A standard script that I use with parents is to simply say to the child, look at the child who's sassing you, talking back, being disrespectful, however you want to describe that, is just to look at the child and say, well, you know something? If I was your age, I'd be reacting the same way. And just turn around and walk away. The more you try and push on that, the worse it's going to get. And you can come back and revisit that later, but once your child starts um, uh, reacting in that sassy way, there's no point in pursuing that discussion. You need to pull the plug, what I call pull the plug on the power struggle, and walk away.
So, even if my child says to me, "You're the worst father ever. I can't believe that I have to be here with you." I'm supposed to just turn around and walk away.
Even if your child, I'm going to raise the ante on that question
Go
just a little
for it.
bit. Even if your child says, you're a real fill in the blank with some profanity, you need to train yourself to be cool. And the way you train yourself is to anticipate that
Mm.
and to rehearse in your mind how you are going to respond when that happens. Your child is you children try to score points.
Yeah.
And if you react emotionally, it doesn't matter that your child was wrong. It doesn't matter that your child was disrespectful. You've lost by reacting emotionally.
Mm.
And so you need to script that. You need to anticipate that that might happen, and you need to script it. If I was your age, I'd probably be saying similar things to me right now. I understand. It's cool. We'll talk about this later. Turn around and walk away.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it goes back to, what we talked about, like, all these parenting tips that you've been giving us over these series. It comes down to disciplining yourself
Well,
and
exactly.
training yourself so that you're ready for those instances when they come up and you're prepared to say, I got this.
Yeah.
You're not getting me today.
Noel, the problem that I encounter with most parents is that they, in situations like the situation that we've just been talking about, they try to win.
Mm.
They suddenly see this as a battle that they
Challenge. Yeah,
have to
sure.
win.
I'm winning this. I'm the adult. Yeah.
And they think in some way that winning is going to establish or create respect on the part of the child because they've won. And I tell parents, no, the minute you try to win, you've lost. It's a paradox, but it's true. Therefore, your child calls you a profane name, and you've already rehearsed it. See, you've already gone through the whole scenario in your head, and all you do is push the button and the tape starts rolling, and you just go, you know what? If I was in your situation with me right now, I'd probably have called me the same vulgar word. I understand. It's cool. We'll talk about this later. And you turn around and walk away. And in so doing, you've never relinquished your authority.
That's fantastic. So, have you noticed any patterns or triggers that lead to a child talking back?
Yeah, we talked about it some in an earlier session of this, but it bears repeating because it's a major mistake that parents make, and that is explaining themselves to their children.
Storytelling.
Explaining leads to an argument leads to a blow up. People start screaming at each other. People start using profane language. I mean, and it can escalate even further from there. So, yeah, one of the things that I keep saying to parents is you must not explain yourself. I mean, there are times when, okay, for a 3-year-old child, I don't want you to run out in the street because there's traffic, et cetera, et cetera. When your purpose is to protect the child in some way, yeah, an explanation is absolutely necessary. But, 95% of the time, an instruction that you give a child does not need an explanation, and an explanation is only going to cause a conflict.
So, we're starting to hear the same repeat pattern, right? Get yourself prepared to give your child the short answers, discipline yourself to be proactive for the situation not to escalate. Um, you know, it, the talking back, like you said, we don't want to engage and have stories with the kids, but it's still going to have, like, even if I have this perfectly rehearsed thing and I turn around and the situation doesn't stop, like the child follows me into the other room, or the words keep happening from the other side of the house, am I supposed to just sit there and ignore it, or am I going to turn around and go hide in another room? Like, what am I doing? Like, I at that point in time was like, I'm retreating. I feel like I'm retreating. Like,
See, the questions that you're asking are the questions that parents ask me when we go through these coaching sessions. So let's take the example of the child. You turn around and walk away after saying to the child, "It's cool, we'll talk about this later. You're hot under the collar right now, and so we'll revisit this subject in an hour or so." And you turn around, you walk away, and the child follows you, badgering
the
as
whole
you're,
time,
yeah.
yeah.
So here's another script. I tell parents, identify in your living space a chair that you can call the chair of perpetual wisdom. If your child is following and badgering you, he wants you to say yes to some request he's made. Sit down in the chair. Just sit down in the chair and look at the child and go, okay, I can tell that you want to persuade me to change my mind. And you don't know this, but I know this, that's going to be impossible.
Right, that's not happening.
But you need to discover it's going to be impossible. And mind you, I've scripted all this for the parent in advance. The parent has been practicing, rehearsing this script. So the child is badgering, following the parent through the house. Parent sits in a very comfortable upholstered armchair, leans back and says, I can tell you're not satisfied with my answer. You want me to change my mind. And so I invite you, try and get me to change my mind. And what the child will do is go, what? Well, go ahead and try and get me to change my mind. I'm in a very comfortable position. I'm willing to sit here for as long as it takes for you to learn. I'm not going to change my mind. Go ahead and try and get me to change my mind. And the child will go, I'll just forget it then. And he'll walk away. I almost guarantee it. And the parents come to me and they go, John, I did that. And that's exactly what my child did. He went, just forget it then, and walked away. I go, yeah, because you refused to engage on his terms.
And the more and more as a parent you follow this procedure, the less and less these conflicts, arguments, talking back scenarios, they're going to whittle down because the child knows this person is in charge
Yeah.
and this person isn't going to change his mind and this person isn't going to take anything from me.
Right. And this person is emotionally impenetrable.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, the emotion.
I can't get this person to react emotionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, all of this has to be done with unconditional love.
Oh, well, it's got, and the child picks up on that. That there's actually and while we talk about this, you've been smiling, I've been smiling, we've been laughing a little bit. There's an undertone of humor to all of this.
Right.
And when things begin to calm down in the relationship, the child begins to intuitively understand that the humor, first of all, he begins to understand there is humor in that situation. And secondly, he begins to understand that your ability to maintain your sense of humor is a demonstration of your unconditional love for him.
So it's funny because I read your teen proofing book, and the one time my son came and was freaking out and screaming and hollering, and I said to him, just right out of the book, it says it in your book. Just simply say, if I was your age in this scenario, I would probably be reacting the same way you did. And I walked away and I walked into my wife's office and I'm laughing. I'm laughing out loud because there was nothing else came out of my child. Like there was dead silence.
Right.
And she's like, what are you laughing about? I'm like, I just did what John said to do in the book. Word for word, verbatim. It wasn't even mine. I just read it. I regurgitated it and there's crickets.
Yeah.
There's crickets out of the other room. Like, how did that work? That's impossible. There's no way. So, I mean, I've used it every once in a while. Even now, I still use it. It's just, and that brings me to my next question. Where can parents find these scripts?
Well, I've got two books that I would strongly recommend out of my catalog. One is called The Well-Behaved Child, where I lay out a consequence. We talked about Plan B. I lay out examples of Plan B. It's called The Well-Behaved Child.
Okay.
And the other one is a book that we've talked about today and in previous videos, Teen Proofing. The Well-Behaved Child, that applicability begins around 2.5, 3 years old, goes up to 13 or 14, and that's where Teen Proofing picks up.
Well, John, that was absolutely amazing advice. I'm sure so many parents are going to be able to put this to use. So I want to thank you so much.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is a mission to me, Noel, and so I'm very grateful that you provided this opportunity for me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Thank you.
Thanks, John.